The One Big Beautiful Bill, officially known as H.R. 11, is a sweeping tax and budget law passed by Congress and signed by President Trump on July 4, 2025. This massive piece of legislation is being called one of the most consequential federal laws in decades. It bundles together over $4 trillion in tax cuts, about $1.1 trillion in spending cuts, and raises the national debt by nearly $4 trillion over the next 10 years. Supporters call it a return to America First priorities, focusing on tax relief, military strength, and border security. Critics argue that it shifts wealth to the rich, guts essential safety net programs, and drives up long-term federal deficits. At the heart of the bill is a new round of tax cuts. The Trump-era tax cuts from 2017, which were originally set to expire in 2026, have now been made permanent. That means lower income tax brackets, expanded deductions, and reduced corporate tax rates are here to stay. But the bill goes further. It exempts tips, overtime pay, and car loan interest on U.S.-built vehicles from federal income tax until 2028. It also introduces a $6,000 deduction for seniors, which effectively means that most people on Social Security will pay little to no federal income tax. These tax cuts aim to put more money back into the pockets of working and middle-class Americans, small businesses, and retirees. On the spending side, the bill invests heavily in defense and border enforcement. The Pentagon gets an additional $150 billion, mainly for drones, military hardware, and cyber warfare upgrades. Homeland Security receives a massive bump, over $170 billion, to fund new border walls, hire more Border Patrol agents, expand ICE detention centers, and speed up immigration courts. The administration argues this will lead to stronger national security and improved enforcement of immigration laws. However, these spending increases come alongside deep cuts to social programs, especially in healthcare and food assistance. One of the most controversial parts of the bill is its restructuring of Medicaid. The law imposes strict work requirements for many recipients, requires people to recertify their eligibility twice a year, and restricts funding to organizations that provide abortion or certain reproductive health services. Experts estimate that these changes could lead to 11 to 17 million Americans losing Medicaid coverage over the next decade. Similarly, the SNAP program, also known as food stamps, will be trimmed by nearly $185 billion, mostly by tightening eligibility and expanding work requirements to include parents with older children. For low-income families, this could mean more red tape or no benefits at all. Education and clean energy also take a hit. The bill eliminates Graduate Plus loans and caps how much students and parents can borrow from the federal government. Only 2 income-driven repayment plans will remain, and the popular SAVE plan is going away. These changes make it harder for students, especially those pursuing graduate degrees, to afford college or manage debt. Meanwhile, most federal clean energy tax credits were removed. Supporters say this helps reduce spending, but climate advocates warn that the U.S. may lose ground in the global green economy, especially to countries like China. So who benefits the most from the One Big Beautiful Bill? Upper middle-class families and small business owners see major savings through the tax cuts and deductions. Seniors benefit from the new deduction shielding Social Security from taxation. Defense and border contractors will also see billions in new funding. But on the other side, low-income households stand to lose the most, from reduced access to healthcare, food assistance, student aid, and housing support. According to independent budget analysts, the poorest 20% of Americans will see their incomes drop by 3 to 4%, while the richest 10% will gain 2% or more. Politically, the bill passed by the thinnest margins. The House voted 218-14, and the Senate passed it 51-50, with Vice President J.D. Vance casting the tie-breaking vote. Lawsuits have already been filed, especially over the bill's effort to cut off Medicaid funding to organizations like Planned Parenthood, which a federal judge has temporarily blocked. Government agencies have 45 days to start rolling out the bill's changes, and analysts are already predicting that it will play a central role in the 2026 midterm elections. In simple terms, the One Big Beautiful Bill is a reordering of national priorities. It delivers large tax cuts, particularly to working and middle-class earners, the wealthy, and businesses. It invests heavily in defense and immigration enforcement. But to pay for those choices, it pulls back on public health, food security, higher education, and green energy, systems many Americans depend on. Whether you view it as a bold reset or a reckless retreat depends on where you sit politically and economically. But either way, this bill will shape the direction of the U.S. government and millions of American lives for years to come.